Okay. Everyone, we're here. Okay. All right. Report a closed session. Okay, open session. Okay. Open session, call to order, flag salute. I'd like to call on one of the greater Americans I've ever had the pleasure to meet, John Kuhn, to lead us in the flag salute. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Approval of the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Abstentions? Noes? Okay, Pam, moved by Mr. Spitz and seconded by Mrs. Hacker. Thank you. Okay, we're at, report of closed session action. Dr. Breggy.
The board voted 4-0 this evening to approve a settlement agreement for student number 14645. And that is it.
Thank you, Dr. Breggy.
Agenda hearing.
Yeah, we have a public hearing. I only have one card, and that has never happened to me before.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
Oh, no, I spoke too
Yeah,
soon.
but you did.
Goodness gracious. Okay, I can say I probably have never had two cards either, so no one, please don't
Now
give
you're
me a
just
third.
asking for it.
Now I'm asking for it, right? Okay, LaDawn Williams. And then our other card is Ben DeHaan.
Good evening. Forgive me if I get emotional. As a spouse of an employee of the Beverly Hills Unified School District and member of the CSEA, I'm heartbroken. Today, I witnessed one of the most egregious and heinous acts that I could have ever witnessed. With all the mass school shootings that have occurred in this country, for Danny Freckle to take a button of support for the CSEA, make a target of it, then proceed to send a photo to several Beverly Hills Unified School District employees in group text form stating, "I found great use for this button, bullseye," including the Director of Maintenance and Operations, Gino Garcia, and for said director to jokingly comment, "Way to dot that I," winky eye emoji. This is a sad occasion. I don't know how anyone can take this lightly or jokingly for that matter, especially the unknown employee who stated, "LOL, why didn't I think of that?" I feel my husband as well as other members of the CSEA were threatened with bodily injury or worse, death. I have only supported and comforted my husband when he has come home and told me about the bullying, harassment, name-calling, and intimidation that he has experienced during his employment here, including receiving a job offer for nighttime lead at the high school that he accepted from then Principal Dave Jackson, to later have it taken away due to discrimination. But this by far is the worst. I can no longer sit in silence. I don't want to imagine my husband coming to work and facing a gun-wielding assailant that is a so-called coworker that has threatened, harassed, bullied, and intimidated many of his fellow coworkers for whatever reason. This has to stop. As a parent, my job is to protect my children by any means necessary. As a wife, my job is to support and have my husband's back at all costs. Excuse me. But my husband has no protection. I feel helpless and afraid. He went and reported the incidents to no avail. Now this. When will this board and this district take action? Does someone have to be hurt or maimed or killed for you guys to see the severity in this matter? You have a person who feels they are untouchable, so he will continue to bully, intimidate, harass, and threaten your employees until the worst has happened, and even then he may not stop. I fear for my husband's life. My husband is a wonderful, loving, caring, kind man who goes above and beyond for those that he loves. He loves his career. He loves these students, because if he didn't, he wouldn't put up with the state of the affairs here. Show him you are concerned and care about the employees of Beverly Hills Unified School District, and put a stop to the bullying mentality that has been allowed to run rampant in this district. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just make a quick comment. Without discussing any personnel issues in public, this is an incident and an issue that just happened today. And so up until the time, literally 5 minutes before I walked into our closed session, we are still looking into and investigating. So it's very premature right now, and I will update you when I have a little bit more information. But this was all, there was an incident that was brought to our attention today, but it's being handled.
Thank you, Dr. Brecke. Ben DeHaan, you want to speak on highlights? Thank you.
So it's going to be kind of tough to follow that, but it is going to be, I think, a lot lighter of a subject. So most of you probably, or hopefully know me. My name is Ben DeHaan. I was on highlights for 2 years. Yeah, no problem. So I was on highlights for 2 years, probably the best 2 years of my high school career. So that was pretty awesome. And you guys have all been wonderful and very accommodating to me, and have really made that experience very enriching for me. Obviously, the school has a lot of problems. The district has a lot of problems. We've seen one of them. The former speaker just brought it to your attention. But I do, having been here for 2 years, having interacted with the staff, the board members, a lot of members of the community, I did want to say that I have a lot of faith in you guys. Prior to my involvement in highlights and kind of paying attention to this, I was kind of one of those kids that said, oh, screw the board, screw the administration, they don't care about us at all. But I think that's kind of just the default. You always want to distrust the authority. And then after being with you guys and having a closer eye on you guys, I've kind of learned that it's not necessarily the case. Sure, you have your issues and there's some things you have to deal with, especially at this district. There's a lot of tough stuff to get in front of. But I do feel that you guys have a really crack team, are doing a great job. As much as I hate to admit it, Jonathan did a great job also. You have Dr. Breggy, Mr. Blake, a whole team that I think you can really rely on. And I'm hoping, beyond hope, that when I come back to visit in a couple years, that some of the things will be behind us and that I can kind of enjoy the progress that we've made. We hope so too. Thank you.
Ben, hopefully you'll tour some new buildings and some refurbished buildings at a minimum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Congratulations on graduating.
I didn't. I can add that as much as I hate to admit it, as I think he walked out, but as awful as Ben is, as horrible of a person as Ben is, I hate to admit that he's not an awful highlights journalist. In the top half of the highlights journalists, yeah. So I love you, Ben.
All right, we're on to item 8, accommodations and recognition. 8A. Okay, I'm going to make approval of resolution 2017-2018-037, student board member. Okay, should I read this?
Well, perhaps if we hear it, maybe we can move on.
Oh, all right, good idea.
Oh, I like that idea.
You want to go up there?
I've been told to, I guess.
What?
I've been ordered to. So.
We need 3. I'll agree. I concur. Yeah, read that.
Beverly Hills Unified School District Board of Education Resolution 2017-2018-037. Jonathan Artal. Whereas Jonathan Artel, a senior at Beverly Hills High School, served as student member of the Board of Education June 2017 through June 2018, and whereas Jonathan Artal, elected by his high school peers, was the student representative for all students in the Beverly Hills Unified School District, and whereas Jonathan Artal fulfilled his youth leadership role in a professional manner, diligently keeping informed on all issues, including reconfiguration, Metro, Fenico, and district finances, and whereas Jonathan Artal was a strong advocate for empowering Beverly Hills High School students and boldly supporting and encouraging student involvement in district decision-making, and whereas Jonathan Artal was an intelligent, bright, really bright spokesperson for all students who provided knowledgeable comments and meaningful contributions to the board meetings. Now therefore be it resolved that the Beverly Hills Unified School District Board of Education does hereby commend Jonathan Artal for his contributions to the Board of Education as a student representative with this resolution presented on the 7th day of June 2018. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're wonderful.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Um,
And this is just a copy.
Sure.
We have one ready for you, but Noah isn't here, so when he signs it, it's yours. But this is just an extra you can ruminate on.
Picture for the parents?
Oh, yeah.
How about with his parents?
Oh, how about the two of you and then with the parents?
They're responsible for this wonderful man.
Guy with the parents, come on.
All right.
They're awesome.
They're paying for your time.
That's, yeah. Just want to take a picture.
One,
Awesome, awesome. Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Moved by Mrs. Hacker, seconded by myself. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, noes? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, Mr. Spitz, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I do. Jonathan, from my own experience, I think you've set an all-time record for the standard of performance in your seat. And I go a long way back when I say that. And so I congratulate you and thank you and wish you the very best and hope you'll come visit us.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Jonathan, for me, it's been a real treat to have you serve as a member of this board. I think that you've brought tremendous wisdom, a lot of your passion. You're so thoughtful in every answer and every thought that you provide for the public, for your student members. And I know that you will go very far in life and in your path into the future. I know that your parents are with us, and I know that you know, we can only stand to benefit from the stories that we will continue to hear from Jonathan Artel in the future, because your future is very bright, just as your brain is. But you're also, I think most importantly, just a beautiful person. Your spirit is just really comes across, and you're just a real mensch. And I think in life that's more important sometimes. And so I'm just so happy that, you know, you are who you are. And, you know, I just want to say that may God bless you and may you continue on the right path. And congratulations to your parents, because I know that they are wonderful people. And I just feel, you know, I've known you for a long, long time, before we were even at Beverly Hills, and maybe before you even got to Beverly Hills Unified. So it's just been really nice to see you grow.
Well, Jonathan, you've definitely set the bar, and you've acted as a true conduit, a very effective conduit for the students to this district, not just the board, and showing, you didn't just show up and phone it in. You actually have taken meetings with board members. You've taken meetings with the superintendent. You've inquired of our academic officers to find out how things work in this district. And that's so important that you've taken that interest, because it is crucial when you went back to your students. I've watched you. I've come to numerous student events that you've either run or participated in, and each and every one of them were informative. And aside from speaking their language, something we as parents up here don't do, obviously with our kids, you were able to get across to them. And you did things that other board members over the years just haven't done. I may not have known you your whole life, but I do know your family. For a number of years, I've watched you grow, your family. And I'll tell you one thing. When are you 18?
I'm 18 in September.
Ooh, just in time for the board elections. And perhaps instead of voting, you may think of a board run, because, you know, you would have the same exact angle of view of the crowd if you were able to get a seat. Any interest?
I would love to. I'm going to be out of town.
Oh, fair enough. You have plans for the next 4 years. All right, fair enough. Well, it truly has been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you very much.
Noah Margot sent this in. He said, Jonathan, please pardon my absence during this, as it is your last meeting as our student board member. I would have very much liked to be there, but I would have very much liked to be vacationing with my family in the Great White North even more. I would have to say that without fail, you have been one of the greatest student board members I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Your diligence, thoughtfulness, and creative approach to problem solving is most admirable. I wish you all the best in Palo Alto, and know that while you are tackling advanced biochemistry or Kierkegaard, you will finally think of your days here, train and all. Thank you for your tireless service, Noah. So I just want to say to you, Jonathan, that, you know, you're just remarkably bright and thoughtful and patient. Hours listening to us sometimes go back and forth on subjects, and you always stayed engaged, and you always came to every situation with the highest ethics and interest, and curious and inclusive. And it's been a pleasure to sit with you. I wish you every success. The greatest thing when student board members come on, and I see the next one, and they come off, is I get to see their parents. And there's a word in Yiddish, and it's so hard to translate in English. For those of you who speak Yiddish, it's called kvelling. And his parents are kvelling right now. They are just overwhelmed with joy and happiness. These are the best moments in life. These are the moments parents wait for all their lives. So you have done every one of us proud, and you have done this community proud, and especially your parents who love you more than words can say. So go out into the world and make mistakes and be creative and climb every mountain, and come back and visit us from Stanford. And I wish you really every success. I know your future is bright, like your beautiful smile, and we're going to miss seeing you. Thank you.
I just want to add really quickly, I was a little worried last summer when we first met, and I thought this is going to be an interesting relationship because I had this wild idea at opening day, and I didn't know Jonathan very well, but I thought that it would be appropriate that at opening day, when we're in front of 600 staff members, that the Board of Education was there, so of course Jonathan would be there. And about 10 minutes before we opened the opening day, I went up to Jonathan and I said, I have a role for you, and tell me if you don't want to do this, but I need you to open up the entire program in front of 600 of your teachers, staff members, parents that were there that were also helping with the PTA. And Jonathan looked at me and said, not a problem. Where do I go? And when? And I said, well, you're on in about 6 or 7 minutes. And I thought this was either going to make it or break it for our relationship, because I thought if this does not go over very well, this is going to be a long year. I've had 8 student board members in my superintendency so far, and it's the type of position that the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And you have put everything that you possibly can into this position. And you get a little choked up, the teacher and principal in me, because you have stepped up in every way, and we've had some pretty tough conversations, and we didn't always agree. You have have this unbelievable skill, and it's a leadership skill where you are very diplomatic and never overbearing. And so as you learned and you grew through your knowledge this school year, I did as well as a superintendent. And I can't say that has been true for every year that I've been a superintendent, but you certainly helped me in my first year more than you will ever know. So from opening day till the ending day, you have been outstanding in every way. And I hope that this relationship will continue into the future.
This has been an incredible year, and I think I have learned more, grown more this year through this board than any class I've ever taken, any experience I've ever had. I need to begin by thanking each and every one of you guys. I'll start with the board members, Mr. Spitz, Hacker, Mr. Noah Margo, even though he's not here, Mr. Goldstein, and Mrs. Korbatov. Wow, it's been such a pleasure working with all of you. You have all been beyond welcoming and kind to me. You've shown me how to be a leader in our community, how to engage with people from a very diverse set of backgrounds, people who have different interests, different beliefs, but I've seen how you engage with those people and how you actively solicit their input and try to create the best educations possible for their children. You have been incredible to me, so thank you to each of you. To our amazing district staff, Ms. Kirk Carter, though she's not here, Mr. Pavoni, Mr. Seaman, Mrs. Chisholm, and Dr. Breggy. You guys have been an incredible part of my experience. When I ran for student board member, I anticipated working with the 5 board members. I didn't understand what an integral role in the district our staff played. You guys do more work than I could ever imagine. I don't envy any of you guys for all the work that you have to juggle. But you all worked, it's very true. But you all work tirelessly. You're all incredible. You've all been so kind to me personally. And, Dr. Breggy, I don't know how many hours I've spent, alone with you, talking or discussing or debating or whatever it's been. But I've truly appreciated the opportunity with each and every one of you. Wow. There are some other people who aren't in front of the camera today. Those are Kbev kids who have been filming us every single board meeting for the last year. Noah, Arian, Oren, all you guys, thank you. I'd like to thank our maintenance staff. I'd like to thank everybody who's, helped me grow throughout my entire education. As I graduated on Friday, I've been reflecting a lot on how did I get to where I am, who's helped me get to where I am. So the teachers, the people who have helped guide me all these years. I even have one former teacher in the audience. Love her to death. So it's an incredible time. I'm grateful for all of it. I won't forget it. I'll definitely stick around. But I'm also excited. I think that our district has a very bright future. I think we have a very unique opportunity now to actively consider the state of our district and how we can improve it. I know that my successor, Sean Tooby, who's sitting in the audience right here, will do an incredible job. And I really hope that he will be able to find the same relationships that I've found on this board, and that this board will leverage him and use him and his fellow students to help create change. So with that, thank you to everyone. It's been incredible. Thank you.
So now we are at, oh yeah, staff presentations, that's right, okay. So you want me to just go straight to the COC? Okay, I didn't know if you had something, okay. 9A, 2016-17 Annual Reports of the Citizens Oversight Committee. All right, where's our fearless COC members?
Hopefully they save some praise for us.
I hope so.
Oh,
I doubt
listen,
it. No, not for us, that's okay.
we are in your debt, so thank you for being here.
Well, I don't know if you read the report then by saying that, so,
Well-
as part of our annual charge
Yeah.
campaign, we're assigned to do the 2 reports every year. This is the first year, I think, in 2 or 3 years where we've gotten both in on time. You've had the reports, I believe, for 2 weeks now We've had the reports now for about 2 weeks now to disseminate through the information. The conclusions are the conclusions. I think they're fair and accurate statements. And Jason?
I don't have anything to add, really.
Perfect. I love it. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Spitz, you're up first. Oh, well, Jonathan, you have nothing to say?
I have nothing to add. Thank you for, keeping us in check. Appreciate it.
First of all, each time I've had the pleasure and privilege of attending one of your meetings, I have said to all of your membership, I've expressed my appreciation for what you do. In a lot of ways, it's a thankless job, but it's an extremely important job because without a COC, as you well know, we couldn't have the district could not have a construction program. So you're key and you're appreciated. I read your reports, and I think what you did was you pointed out each and every issue that the auditors raised, and they are issues, and staff has assured the board that they are being attended to. Some of those issues were carryovers from prior years.
Correct.
And they weren't attended to.
Correct.
So we're well aware of that. The one point that I wanted to ask you about is that in your report, you mentioned the concern of a number of members of the committee with regard to expenditures of bond funds for legal fees in connection with Metro's project to come under the high school. And I think you mentioned that the COC has requested numerous times for backup on that.
For at least
Back-
3 years.
Legal, and that I have a question about because that request was made, and I recall that it's been well over a year ago, probably close to maybe 2 years ago, that the district did obtain two, I think, legal opinions, formal legal opinions, and it's my understanding that those legal, that the more meaningful and the more complete legal opinion was presented to the COC. I hope it was.
No, it was not. I'm sorry. No, it was not. No, it was not.
The subcommittee saw it.
No, there was no subcommittee. There was 3 individuals, and it was before I was chair.
It was 3 individuals who were all 3 attorneys,
Correct.
and they read it, and then they came in and we spoke for about an hour.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But what we were looking for, and I think there was some confusion about what the COC was looking for. We weren't looking for content. That we were not looking for the content or the material of the reports. We're just looking for the numbers of how much was being spent versus COC Measure E money versus other types of legal cost structures. And it's kind of a he said, she said type of thing. But we never saw those redacted numbers.
There's also the general concern of the increase of non-metro related legal
Use the
expenses.
mic, I'm not hearing you.
Sorry, I gotta look. The non-metro related construction, legal expenses pertaining to construction. Okay, so we're trying to understand the full scope of legal costs related to construction. And apparently, so that, I would leave it at that.
Yeah. And thank you for your comments, Mr. Spitz.
Mrs. Hacker?
No, I thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Rund. That's helpful for me. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and I read the report, and I do understand, according to Mr. Blake, that a lot of those issues are being dealt with. Mr. Blake, did you want to add anything? I'm sorry? Resolved. Yes, it's been resolved. And so I look forward to reading next year's report, and hopefully a lot of these issues have been put to rest.
That's all
But
I'm saying.
I do appreciate, you know, you explaining to the board the issues that you have as it relates to legal, and perhaps we can talk about this and get you what you need. I would be okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, having sat on the COC for a number of years before, and I came on right after the issue with strategic concepts, so there was a whole lot of work to do when I got on the board and on the Citizens Oversight Committee, and it took quite a while to sort out what was going on. And I think at the time there was something like in the neighborhood of 40 some odd deficiencies. I think we got it down to 17. How many deficiencies did you identify? How many were, and I know it's in your report, and many were ministerial, many were.
Majority of them.
Majority of them are ministerial, where it just, you need to identify it, advise staff, and have them correct
I would look at it as more housekeeping issues.
housekeeping issues. And then there are a few that are process. And based on what I'm reading, a lot of that process now is being taken care of with regard to our current construction management team, including Don Blake. And one of the biggest issues, and I think this has been in every COC report, is the comment that ends just about every report. We need continuity in our construction management team. If we're going to be successful and not have the problems that occur year in, year out, that we have to go back the following year to correct and correct again, is to have continuity in leadership and continuity in our construction team. In about 6 months, I won't be here. It's incumbent on you gentlemen and your committee to make sure you keep this district's feet to the fire, to make sure that Mr. Blake and his team are doing the things that we need to do, because after passing Measure BH, there's going to be about $100 million of construction going on at any one time. That's a lot of work, and ultimately that's a lot of review for your committee as well. And the reason I bring that up is I'm going to inquire with my colleagues. We're going to need to make a determination about a Citizens Oversight Committee for Measure BH as well. And I don't want to be so bold and presumptive to think that we're going to task you with double work, but I think we're going to need to put out applications for additional Citizens Oversight Committee members, and a discussion should be had with the current Oversight Committee to see whether they're willing to take on additional work, or are we going to run two committees? Are we going to? So that needs to be put on an agenda after discussion with the current COC, with I think with the superintendent and the chairs to find out. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that will in part depend on how the bonds are actually sold and how the funds are sequenced into the existing program. And I don't think that can, so I don't think it can really be answered without consulting with the bond advisor, with Keegan.
All right. I just want to keep it on the radar because we don't want to get caught flat-footed not having a citizens oversight for the new measure as well, because that's going to come online rather quickly by the end of summer or fall, early fall. We're going to start building projects and start dealing with B3 and B4 in this district under Measure BH, so that's important. Also, I know that this.
Just explain to the public, you're saying that Measure E dollars are being deployed in projects and simultaneously.
Yeah.
The
both those
BH
bonds
is going to happen as well because our plans came out of DSA, we're ready to go.
will be, yeah.
Yeah,
by-
okay.
by
I
the
just
end of
want the
summer.
public to
Yeah, by the end of
understand.
summer,
Without
early
having
fall.
all the information, I mean, you
Yeah.
bring up a fair point,
Yeah.
and it's an interesting question.
Well, I would like,
Without-
yeah.
It's an interesting question.
Get on, if you could be on the mic.
Without having all the
Mr.
information-
Gibbons, if you wouldn't mind being on the mic so the people
Sorry.
at home can
My-
hear you. They can see
Oh,
you, they
great.
just may not be able to hear you.
Oh, I hit something, sorry. Of course, it's a fair question, it's an
Yeah.
interesting question. I think off-the-cuff comments would, at least on my part, and again, I'm not speaking as COC chair, I'm just speaking as the individual citizen.
Could you fill out a card, please?
No problem. I think it would be counterproductive to have two different COCs going after this. It's also counterproductive for staff. But it is interesting and it's a fair question. So, I mean, more information needs to be looked at. I thank you for your comments.
Mrs. Hacker, you want to say
I
something?
just wanted to say that to Mr. Rund, I believe that the first series is sold in March of next year, Mr. Blake? He said something about the series
The first series of
for the BH.
I think it's an issue we have to resolve, is
Yeah.
that you'll have Measure E funds
Going
continuing,
on.
but the B3 and B4 will come online before March. The question then is from accountability standpoint,
Mr. Bl- could you go on the mic so people at home can hear you? Because we're actually, you can't see it on camera, but it's standing room only here in the chamber.
glad I dressed up. I think that it's an important question we're grappling with as staff, and we haven't quite got together yet with the COC to resolve, is Measure E is allocated for B1, B2, and A, B, C, and D for El Rodeo. But in sequencing, we'll be moving forward from the scope allocation, not so much how we do this financially, but from the scope allocation, B3 and B4, we expect to be online or be able to contract by March of next year for B3 and B4. If DSA releases by the same time the auditorium for Hawthorne, then that will also be online. So it's a matter of cash flow management, cash flow, and which one goes where. And frankly, I think, I agree the bond council would be the one to resolve which fund sources does that, or is it all one wallet? And then from the COC, my vote would obviously be that one COC transparently through both.
Yes.
That's correct. I think as construction escalates, the Measure E funds will be exhausted and that program will be closed out. And then you'll be left with, just the single bond, the Measure BH program. So it probably makes sense to consider just having one COC. So there's a transition between the two programs.
So as you stand here, not speaking for your colleagues, who can't be more pleased that they're going to take on more work, and thank you for volunteering them, do you need more members? What is your current membership?
Yes,
You-
we're
okay.
always, we're always looking for more members. And we're always looking for more accountants. And I think I've said this in the past, to the old Les Bell model, we're looking for Zechel,
Yeah.
guys who have common sense. This isn't rocket science. Actually, the people who have the best knowledge are the people that don't have any knowledge of construction, who could look at something and see something completely different than a real estate construction person like myself would see. Because it's just different to have people think out of the box. So we are always desperate for other people, whether they be school teachers. It doesn't matter. It's always great to have good input. And I think we have 4 open spots, if I'm not mistaken. And we have plenty of room on the subcommittees. We're talking with Don about, facilities, how we wrap that in. Is it separate? Is it the same? I think we should start looking at the subcommittees expanding, because that's a good way to move them up into the COC as well at some point in the future.
And I think realistically, the timing is right to recruit new members coming off of the election.
Yeah.
There's more engagement, there's more interest, there's more understanding, there's more knowledge about the bond program right now than perhaps at any other time.
Great.
Okay. And I'm sure you gentlemen know that there's a CCAC that we've approved, Citizens Construction Advisory Committee, correct? So we're going to need 5 members for that, Don?
We're looking for 6.
How do you break a tie?
They don't vote.
They don't
They're
vote?
advisory.
Okay,
They're advisory.
They just whooped me.
okay. So we're looking for 6. So obviously, if you can think of anyone that would like to do that, that's really someone who's very steeped in construction. I guess, Don, it could be someone with architectural background, construction, attorneys who deal with real estate, construction, defect, whatever facets of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a great point. It's a good question of where that committee sits amongst the other committees.
Right.
Again, from my own personal opinion of where that sits, and Don brought up some very fair points and accurate points about that.
But it's
as well.
important, because if we're going to go online end of the summer, early August, that means Dr. Breggy's not taking his week vacation. He's going to be interviewing COC members and, or the school board.
CCAC
and
members.
CA members as well. So I just wanted to put that out there to make sure that that gets put in place over the summer, so we hit the ground running, and that we're not delayed because we don't have people oversight or reviewing what's going on.
Of course.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. And I just also want to thank you, and information's always good, even when it's not always flattering. And, I want to tell you that I'm very hopeful that Don Blake and his team will do such a good job, that we'll need less of Terry's team, legal. The group prior was a hot mess at times, and it showed in your report, and it showed in other ways. And we had a lot more turmoil and a lot more legal issues to deal with. So I really am hopeful that we're on the right path with the right people. But like Howard says, we expect you to put up, the flashlight, the magnifying glass. We appreciate it.
So thank you very much. If I just make two closing
Sure.
comments. One, I really want to commend and thank Jason, Mr. Runn, for all his hard work with the audit committee, dealing with the members of that. It's really the heart and soul of the COC is the audit, and it's the thankless job. And number two, they came up with a recommendation about a year and a half ago, really to change the reports around. Instead of 70% numbers, 30% conclusions, we changed it around. We made it 70% conclusions and 30% numbers, because it was kind of getting glazed over by too many people in the community. So again, I want to thank Jason for all his hard work.
And that was an important recommendation, because what it did is it expanded the scope of what the COC looks at and the depth of that scope to make sure. So a lot of things, because things needed to be put back in place, there was a lot of surface level review. Now, because of Jason and your committees and your COC, you've gone very deep. It's almost like Common Core, not just wide, but you're going deep. So that's good.
Thanks for throwing that.
Yes, at least I can do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Have a great summer, folks. Thank you. We're at 9B, correct? Yes. Discussion on effects to portable housing at Beverly Hills High School and preliminary logistics information on moving portable housing presented by Terry Tao.
Thank you. We have a PowerPoint presentation over there. There it is.
Okay.
Thank you. I will mention anecdotally that one of the school districts I worked with Don Blake on before we get into the presentation was Las Virgenes. I think they spent 2 years with me, and when Don showed up, we tailored back, and then I literally didn't see them again for about 4 or 5 years, except for the occasional telephone call. So that, I hope, is your path. This presentation here that we're making is about some of the concerns that have been expressed with regard to the laydown area that's literally next door to your high school. It's on the back fence line. Part of the reason for doing this presentation is there's a government code section. It's Government Code Section 830.6. What that code section is generally about is Government Code Section 830.6 provides design immunity to school districts. So if you have a slip and fall, or if you have some problem at the school districts are generally immune. However, there's an exception to when design immunity ends, and that's when you have potentially an unsafe condition. If the school district learns that there is a unsafe condition or potentially an unsafe condition, not saying that there is, there's a duty to investigate. And that is what the board has been doing and frankly agonizing over for the past many years. You've heard about the various lawsuits that have occurred with MTA and the Federal Transportation Administration, and now another lawsuit that's been initiated. And the real genesis of this is this safety concern that the Board of Education has had all these years. I know it may be real obvious, but that the board is concerned for the safety and health of the students at Beverly Hills High School. So for some of you, this may just be another presentation or restatement of what it is that you hear on the street or you hear from the various board members. But we felt that at least as legal counsel, I felt it was important to get some of the things that the board has been considering in front of you. So this is the high school. This is an aerial photograph of the high school and where the laydown area is going to be. The location being directly against the high school was not actually originally the planned location. It was originally planned a little further away where there would not have been effects. But MTA, through their supplemental environmental impact statement, actually moved the laydown area directly against the school. Some of the things that are going to occur there are there's going to be the tearing down of buildings. There's going to be construction that will be going down in the laydown area. And the construction for the actual subway will occur roughly in August of 2020. So we're about 2 years away from the actual construction of the subway line. This is the entry to the subway line. So what will happen is the subway will both go east and west of this location, and the spoils, basically the soil that will be removed in order to build the subway, will come out of the hole that will be right next to where the portables are. The first opportunity you'll have to actually see what it is that is going to occur will be coming just a little while from now. What we learned as early as yesterday was starting the 25th of this month, the parking structure that is next door will be coming down. And that parking structure will give, even though this is when school is not in session and we actually, the board agonized to make sure that it wasn't during school, it'll give us an opportunity to see exactly what the effects are, what the noise, what the vibration and the like will be. So the facilities team, these two people right here, Don and Jeff, have contracted for test equipment in order to monitor this first kind of preview of what's yet to come so that we can see what it is that will occur. This was a picture that was presented a little while ago, and I think it was a board meeting or two ago. I thought this is a great illustration of exactly how far away the construction laydown area is from the classrooms. These portable classrooms were put in the lacrosse field long before the district knew that there was going to be a laydown area next door. So there was no anticipation up until literally last year that there was going to be a laydown area next door to the high school. So this photograph is illustrative of what it is that will be there and how far away it'll be. So we obtained some opinions, and this is all public record. So I thought I would get at least some of the public record out so that the those sitting here in the audience would see what it is that the school district sees. This is correspondence from Kathleen Moore, who was 30 years in school facilities and the director of the School Facilities Division for the California Department of Education. What she concluded was, and I'll just read the quote, MTA and high school uses on the same site are irrevocably incompatible and represent poor planning and administrative oversight on the part of the leaders proposing such a project. So the opinion from the regulations that are governing school districts is that these two projects are really incompatible, and that there are concerns associated with the fact that there would be this incompatibility at the state level. What she basically says is, had the school district decided to come to this location with the subway there, CDE never, or California Department of Education, never would have approved this location if it was against a subway line or having a subway line going underneath. Here, the school district's already here with the high school, and the subway line is coming. So it's a different analysis. The rules would have prevented us from going there, but there is no such reciprocal rule for MTA. So in the actual California Department of Education former director's letter, she went through and analyzed what it is that in her mind was kind of the most critical, and that is, what is the noise standard within classrooms? And the American National Standard Institute standard is a not to exceed 35 decibels. And the reason for that is obvious, that it needs to be a quiet environment for learning. And there were studies that were done about what made the most sense with regard to sound levels within classrooms. There was a study of noise impacts that were done in a couple of years ago, 2004, by the Federal Transportation Administration, and the conclusion was that schools is what's called Category 3, the most sensitive receptors with regard to noise. The anticipation of the school district with regard to the environmental impact statement that was prepared by Metro was that there could be in structures, interiors up to 56 dBs and perhaps up to 75 dBs. There is a baseline where Caltrans would automatically say that they have taken up some of the responsibilities with regard to interference, and that Caltrans threshold is 53 decibels. So from what we've seen with the SEIS from Metro, it looks like they're going above not only the Caltrans criteria, but above the standards with regard to the what's called ANSI, which is what it is that is expected with schools. They're using a 60 dB level, which is the Beverly Hills standard for exterior, and applying that to their evaluation. We know that since writing this letter, the folks at Metro did take into account some of our concerns, and they did implement a couple of mitigation measures. One of the mitigation measures that they have since added to their criteria is that they're going to put up a 20-foot sound wall. So if you go back to the photograph that we were looking at earlier, instead of being able to see over the wall, you're going to have this huge 20-foot wall, which will help mitigate some of the noise. They believe that that will mitigate some of the noise that will actually go into the classrooms. What we're going to do is we're going to test in order to see exactly what it is that we're going to be encountering. So the second criteria is air quality. So the district hired a scientist who studies air quality, and that scientist is named James Westbrook. He's 30 years in air quality, and he provided an opinion that we sent to Metro, so this is all public record information. I'm not a scientist, so what I'll do is I'll just give you what it is that he said, and what we will try to do is we've asked for third-party scientists, physicians, pulmonologists, whatever it is that we can get that are not hired by the district to come here in July and answer questions. So that's what we're thinking would be the best way to get a clear dialogue on exactly what it is that is being encountered. So the key criteria is two criteria. There is particulate matter and how particulate matter will affect kids. And I will say that after we sent this letter, there was also a mitigation measure that was added to the SEIS from Metro to address some of these. So, and I'll cover that in a moment. The two areas are what's called PM10s, which is basically dust, dirt that gets kicked up in the air. That's a larger particulate matter. It gets into your lungs and can be coughed out. The other criteria is PM2.5, which is smaller particulate matter. That's diesel exhaust typically, that gets trapped in your lungs and does not get coughed out. So there are evaluations that are done from both of those, and both of those will be arising from the site that's next door. And this is more of just a discussion of what it is. The kind of your key criteria is if there is over a 10 parts per million increase in PM10s and PM2.5s, there are increases with regard to primarily for the school district, asthmatic attacks, bronchial dilator use, and potentially emergency room related problems. And what we wanted to do is, this is the criteria. The actual data that we have needs to be more thoroughly investigated, but this is what it is that the district is reviewing in order to determine the safety related link. So one of the things that the district is looking at is the possibility of moving these portables. The portables were placed there. It was about a 3-year job to put them there. And it was well before the decision was made by Metro to move the laydown
Terry,
area. Yes.
just a correction. They told us 1,000 feet. After all this was done, we found out it was actually 100 feet. We found that out in a courtroom.
Yes.
So we planned appropriately, then they did that.
So
And Mr. Chow, I just want to be clear that everything you've talked about is how it relates to the portables, correct?
correct.
Yeah, I want to make that very clear.
Yes, the main effect is going to be on the portables, not on the rest of the buildings. As you can tell, the laydown area is directly against the portables, which is where kids will be going to school during construction. The location of where these portables are, we're actually considering moving. And with that, there are a number of issues that would come up, and I'll just address them real quick. There's a timing with regard to how long it'll take to plan, what the logistics are, what the costs will be, and what the state requirements are associated with doing such an approval. So I asked Mr. Blake what this means and what the effects are and how long it would take, and whether or not it's feasible to get this done before Metro starts their construction project in 2020. So I'll put that up, and then I'll ask Mr. Blake to come up and talk.
And if you can read that, I'll be order of magnitude concepts to dismantle the portables where they're sitting now and reconstitute that space, and then prepare other spaces to land the portables. That entire scope, order of magnitude, is about $7 million for hard costs and soft costs. The original cost was about $5 million for hard costs and soft costs. This is more because we're taking apart what we built and moving it and relocating it. So that means the utilities, the underground utilities, the electrical, the plumbing, all of those components that are part of that village that's up there. So basically what this schedule says, the program, when it was approached originally, had a little over a 2-year life cycle. Within those 2 years, about a year, a little more than a year, is design and DSA. Everybody loves that number. And then the rest of it was the construction process. The construction process, really can be done in under 300 days. So this is our concern. There's about 770 days total. That's total to, if we started today and we said, let's get design engineers, let's hire the architect. Because when we work on the high school, it's not only an architect, but it's the DTSC consultants, it's other consultants that have to do with conditions that we have to plan for if we move dirt, excavate dirt, or have any underground utilities and access them. So the design team is more than just the architect. So we put those guys together, that scope of design, that would be what we call fast tracking. We're not being creative, we're just saying the places we have available to put portables currently would be in the front grass area that's fenced in right now, and the parking lot next to the swim gym. Not ideal for lots of reasons, but those are the spaces that are the easiest at this point to relocate that village. Now, what does all that mean? To design it, get it into DSA, and get it out of DSA is about a year. It could be 12 months, it could be 14 months, but it's within that range. Once the DSA, we have an approved set of drawings, we can begin construction. That construction process, again, it's easier if you're just grading and landing. In this case, we're dismantling, grading, and landing. So that's about 240, 250 days. Here's the catch. If MTA is coming at some time, which we don't know exactly when, in 2020, to begin the work that will be involved in the laydown area, then we want to move the portables and have this done before August, the early part of August of 2020. So that's kind of the window to squeeze this in, and that will be an extraordinary challenge. Construction part, we can do some things, but this, we have to move children out in order to do it, build it, and then move them back in. So it can be done, and we know that we can accomplish it. DSA is critical. 10 months is what we have scheduled. If it's more than 10 months, that pushes out the possibility of being able to do it. Currently, this schedule, based on, if I'm just writing it up, I'm not trying to meet the window of August 2020. We're currently in the end of May 2021. So that's the challenge. And we'll be able to report back. We'll begin this analysis, the design process, budgeting, and scheduling immediately to determine where they'll land, and is this real? How can we shorten this schedule and deliver this on the August date 2020. That's what all that says.
Just a couple more things. So remember, we're evaluating possible safety concerns, not that we found safety concerns. And certainly Metro is not here yet, so you don't have a safety concern as of this moment. But as the guardians of the kids in the school, what we're doing is we're being proactive, and we're thinking through whether or not the level of concern is high enough where you're going to want to be looking at these type of expenditures. I will also say, and what I mentioned before was we sent a series of letters from various scientists to Metro, and Metro did consider some of the comments that were made, such as putting up the sound barrier to lessen the noise in the classrooms. The other criteria that Metro said that they were going to do is install air purifiers on all the classrooms to ensure that none of the PM 2.5s or PM 10s makes it into the classrooms. There is a benefit to being further away. We actually have a study that we sent to Metro showing that once you're over a certain distance away from the fence line, the risk goes significantly down every foot away from the fence line you are. So we found that the highest level of risk seemed to be in concentric circles and barely touches building A. So you can tell it reaches into this portables area the most based on the criteria that we've been evaluating. But again, I'm an attorney. So when we hire consultants, the consultants are going to find certain things. What you need now is somebody who's going to really evaluate this data and give you the straight scoop. And that's what we're looking for the purposes of doing a safety evaluation, because we don't look at it lightly to spend, did you say $7 million? To spend $7 million to move the relocatables to a different location because of a maybe concern or a thoughtless concern or a knee-jerk concern. It has to be properly evaluated, and that's why we're doing it here, so that people can see what it is that the Board of Education has been grappling with all these years. Any questions?
I'd like to begin by thanking both you and Mr. Blake for the presentation. I had a few questions. The first of those is you mentioned that there were areas that, that concentric circle that you called it, of areas where the air quality could be damaging to our students, reached to, you said, the border of Building A. Are there any athletic facilities or spaces or where students currently spend a lot of time or have access to where it also can impact the quality of our students' health outside of the portable area?
The concentric circles that our experts and scientists drew basically went out a couple hundred feet from the fence line. As far as it went when I was looking at the maps, and I didn't reproduce it here, but when we were looking at the maps, it looked like it hit the corner of Building A and then went out kind of in a radius. So the area where the relocatables are is the main area that we were concentrating on. Certainly, as you get further away, the PM 2.5s and the PM 10s are not as significant a problem.
So we don't have significant concerns for the football field, for example, or baseball field?
Not as
No?
concerned about
Okay.
it, yes.
Another question is, do we as a district have any indication, any research of whether or not the sound wall will be sufficient to lower the sound levels beneath 35 decibels? Is there any indication of whether or not that might be enough? Is that sufficient for you as a construction lawyer looking at this? Do you think we should be pushing for more?
The sound wall is actually a a good start. We do have concerns generally with things like vibration, which a sound wall is not going to take care of. You know, like vibration is what, in fact, when you looked at the reports that I put up, sometimes it said dBs and sometimes it says VDBs. VDBs is basically ground vibration. So both of those are of importance to you because the ground vibration actually comes out as kind of a bassy sound. And we have concerns over both of those because both of them will affect the learning environment, and the sound wall may not be able to take care of the problem. We do have some folks working on it and looking at it. The learning environment was one of the California Department of Education's primary concerns, but here's the great thing that's going to occur, and I know it sounds horrible when I say it's a great thing. Since Metro is going to be tearing down that parking structure that's at the wall, that gives you a 3-week preview of what it is that the sound is going to sound like with the sound barrier there.
Okay.
So we're putting both testing equipment on the fence line, but we're also putting test equipment inside the classrooms to measure what both the ambient and what the peak or spikes will provide. And we're going to be measuring those and keeping all that information for the purposes of presenting it to Metro and making the evaluation of whether or not there's going to be a serious deterioration in the interior learning environment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then my last question, I suppose this is more for facilities. So beyond moving the portables, there's no way that we could house our students, in an accelerated timeline if we needed to get them out of an affected area. There's nowhere we can put them.
Culver City.
That's wonderful.
No, I think the issue that we're looking at from a facility standpoint is for the construction, just, pick them up, move them, land them, is about 170 days.
The
If
approval is the issue.
So what's hard about that is that's more than a summer. And whenever we do this, we have to do something here that's different because that doesn't work. Like you can't stop teaching a month before the end of school and then move them. So we think when we're through doing this analysis that the only thing, and 7 million, to be honest with you, we think is the range. But the only way to solve this would be to grade the areas that we think we're going to select for the portables, grade them, do all of that work that doesn't impact students, put new ones down, and then once school completes in that summer, move them out. And probably that's the only way this schedule is going to work. Does that answer your question?
I was just hoping that I suppose that it's a very false hope that we would have other space, across the facility. But I doubt that
Right.
that we would have other room at other parts of the high school.
The sad thing is that it's going to come in, we have about 30 months on the schedule for B1 and B2. The perfect would be B1, B2 finishes, and we could start moving people in. And we'll do the planning piece for that. But I think the worst-case scenario is grading, landing all the new ones, and that may be a month ahead of time, then move that population out to the new ones and remove the old. It's a lot of activity on site that will be ongoing during that period.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there's so much to say about this issue, and I know that my colleagues will share in that. I would like to say this, that there are people in Beverly Hills who approached me and have said, "Why are you fighting Metro? I mean, well, you shouldn't be fighting Metro. It's not going to make any difference." But this shows you what type of what type of an outfit Metro really is. Because, as was explained at the beginning, that area was not supposed to be their staging area. They changed. And the fact that it backs up to our schools is of no interest to them. And I'm not going to go into that too much. Some other of my colleagues really have more data in that area, have had more contact, but this is why we fight Metro. As far as this specific problem is involved, one thing that the community should know is that there is no way that the district is going to be passive or allow any of our students or staff to be endangered. And I want to commend and thank Don Blake for doing what he's done to start the ball rolling on what we may have to do. And there's such a limited time that it may be a plan B, but it's not a plan B that can be put on the shelf. It's a plan that has to be started up. So the other thing that you might think about is this. Beverly Hills High School is and has always been short of space. Acre-wise, it's way, way, way short of what a high school should have. And now, what it looks like is that we may wind up moving these portables to another spot and then having an area that's off limits. Off limits. An area of the high school that is off limits to use for how many years? 7, 8, 10, huh? You never know because you never know because Metro runs behind sometimes in their schedules. They run way behind. So this is a serious problem, and I think the one thing that I want to stress is that this district is not going to permit a situation where any of our students and staff will be endangered. Thank you.
Mrs. Hacker?
I think I'll be very brief. I just want to thank Mr. Blake for responding. I think I'd asked the question maybe 2 weeks ago, and so it was nice to hear some of this presentation in closed and now in open, and to clarify to those watching that we are specifically talking about the portables. And as Mr. Spitz has said, I think there is a commitment from the board and from staff to make sure that if there is harm to students in that area, that we would not allow that to happen and that we would move them. Thank you.
Terry, I have a question. I recall that they changed I don't know the word they use, but where they scoop everything out of the earth. And they've put it all now from both directions, east, west, and, I mean, we're talking La Cienega to around here, so that would be going east, west. And then you have the other station, right, going all the way out to Westwood. And apparently, all of the stuff is coming out of that staging area from both directions. Is that what we think is happening, or can we find out?
My understanding from reviewing the environmental impact statement, and I can probably locate the section, though I don't have it here, is this is the main entry point for the tunneling. And the tunnel goes east and west. This line actually ends at the Century City Station. So mainly east, but a little bit west is going to come out of this location. But it will go all the way to the other line.
So I would urge the public to go on our website and read our complaint. That was it was an injunctive relief, correct? A request
Correct.
for injunctive relief. It is excellent reading. in there is at least 5 or 6 examples of what is the worst thing in a NEPA lawsuit is predetermination. And Terry can go into detail, but it's so egregious how they've lied to the public, to their own Metro board members, relying on staff, as well as to us, Beverly Hills Unified, and to the city. And there are egregious examples of predetermination and how they went in the dead of night to DSA to ruin our Building C, and we have to rejigger that. How they bought property right behind the line, those buildings years ago, so they never were looking at another route in earnest. They never really analyzed any route that was less injurious. They then sent a letter, Phil Washington, saying that, well, even if there was a better route, we can't really look at it because I've already spent $6 million a month, he said, on this route. So none of these things are allowed legally to occur in a NEPA, which is National Environmental Protection Act, correct?
Correct.
And then the other predetermination, Terry, was it the Spaceship House? Is that the other, is there another one? There was Phil Washington's letter, buying the parcels, Building C, and then it was, we found out later on that FTA and MTA both said they couldn't make the route different because it went under a home from 1928, and it was landmark.
It was a historic landmark.
Historic landmark. And that is a home that Huggy Bellsberg designed out, a really wonderful guy I went to school with in the high school here, who's a very well-known architect, and it's a beautiful modern house on the corner of Linden, and it looks like a spaceship. It was torn down in around 1998, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So this is Metro. This is what they do to communities. They lie. They lie, and they use your taxpayer dollars to just run roughshod over your liberties, your sanctity, and your sovereignty. And frankly, I would say to some of these former mayors of our city, shame on you for taking the side of a rogue agency over your own school district and your own families and these children and your staff. And I always wonder, what would it take for some people to change their mind and do the right thing, at least say the right thing? Well, apparently, it takes absolutely, there is nothing that makes them change their mind, because they think it's actually ethical and moral to impose a risk, that Metro should impose a risk on other people's children. They think that's okay. And they think it's okay to blame us for spending money to fight for the sanctity and sovereignty of this campus and the well-being of our students and our staff and the community at large, because it is a place that the community comes through the JPA. It's our city's only disaster site. And I'm saying this to everyone. I urge you to go on the website and read the complaint. I urge you to read the city's complaint. I believe what the city's attorneys wrote. I believe that they meant it. And I believe our attorneys when they wrote their complaint. And I'd like you all to sit down and read it. Everyone should take a good long read. And then everyone should drive around and look at the staging area and look at the portables and see what they think of that. And then everyone should go back in time and look at Metro's safety record in Hollywood and Ross Dress for Less. And if anyone can tell me what is an acceptable risk, well, you could read Metro's reply. And it says, even if methane fills up in buildings here on the campus, they don't think that poses a significant risk. Well, what is a significant risk? Can anyone tell me? No. So we know there's a risk, we just can't quantify it. And if anyone thinks that's moral, ethical, or should be legal, then you really should have your heads examined. But to see former mayors of this city write letters to the papers, putting blame on us, well, I'd like to say to them, and I've had the pleasure of saying it to their face, what if you're wrong? If I'm wrong, and I've been wrong, let's say for reacting this way for 8 years, I made a mistake. I don't think anyone thinks shallow tunnels going through heavy oil fields with methane gas is a good idea. But if I overstated the impacts and I erred on the side of caution, then okay, I'm wrong. That's, you know, we're wrong, and the harm is we spent money we shouldn't have spent. If they're wrong, then we have a much bigger problem on the campus. And I would say to the community at large, hold those people to some scrutiny, not your board. Your board is doing everything it can to safeguard this campus. Ask those former mayors. Because I will tell you, there was one question that an elected asked friends of mine. And he asked, how come your former mayors are for this vocally, like openly, and like really nobody else in the community is this vocal about it? Well, everyone should ponder that. Why are former mayors here, not all but many, for this? I think that's a really big and good question to ask. And I think we should all understand that sometimes they have other interests other than the well-being of this campus. And I think we should put scrutiny and shed light on those interests and not on us here. Because there's nothing any of us have personally gained by fighting this fight. Except being, you know, maligned in the newspapers and having people come up to you and wag their finger at you. So to all the naysayers out there, shame on you. And I'm going to say it as often as I have to, because until I leave for 6 months, I'm going to remind this community that you have an obligation to fight for the sanctity and the sovereignty and the well-being and the health and well-being of this campus and the people who reside here. Thank you. The website is BHUSD.org. Dr. Breggy, can you make sure to put up whatever this board decides should go on, like our complaint, like a PowerPoint presentation? People need, I don't want to scare the public. And so I don't think we need to dive deep into things that are very scary. But I think people need to know the truth.
Sure.
And then maybe people will write to Secretary Chow, President Trump, Ted Lieu, Richard Bloom, Ben Allen, Kamala Harris, Dianne Feinstein. I think people should flex their political muscle. I think you should find people who give lots of money to those people, to your electeds. You can go into the giving, and you should ask them to call those offices. They have more sway. You should go into the giving and look at the FEC reports and see who is giving to your elected officials. And maybe that will shed light why they're turning a blind eye to our problem. These are all things you should be looking at. You should be talking to Sheila Kuehl. You should be talking to Eric Garcetti. This is your campus, these are your tax dollars, and those people work for you, just as we do. Only difference is they get paid, and they have big offices full of staff, and they have drivers and cars. I get water. So you guys, this public, should turn around and put the focus on those decision makers and our former mayors in this city and ask them why.
Thank you. It's a little tough to follow, but
Sorry.
that's all right. You felt, I definitely understand, and I'm with you with that and the sentiment and everything. Hopefully, I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I think that's why we're here and doing what we need to do. So what I wanted to talk about, to kind of summarize what we're doing here and what's going on. In November of 2017, Metro put out the final supplement to EIS with regard to Section 4F evaluation. And that started, and I want to just read from it for a moment. This information on transportation impacts of Section 2 of the project that have changed from those identified in the published West Side Subway Extension Final Environmental Impact Statement, Environmental Impact Report, Final EIS, EIR, Metro 2012. In 2012, Metro is going to be at Constellation and Avenue of the Stars, a big empty lot. They have a multi-page document, which is their final supplemental EIS put out November 2017. And why do I keep on saying that date? Well, it becomes important. One of the things they talked about in November of 2017 in this report is the relocation of construction staging activity at the Century City Constellation Station as described in Chapter 2 of the supplemental EIS, SEIS. It's the change, moving that staging area 1,000 feet, because people said, gee, Why did you put your portables if you knew there was an alignment? Yes, we knew there was a subway alignment potentially going through our campus. What we didn't know is that internally, Metro had the idea that they were going to move right at our back door. Everything publicly, even at a court hearing in the NEPA case, Judge Wu, the judge had to extract the fact that they weren't upfront with regard to documents filed with the court that indicated they were still going to be 1,000 feet away from us. And that happened over a year and a half ago, that hearing. It precipitated the 216-page ruling that Judge Wu put out. In this document, in November 2017, they talk about the relocation. What I have the concern, and I really want to make, as Mr. Spitz stated it, as Mr. Tao was stating it, this resonates. They talk about the estimated daily haul of truck trips, location, Constellation Station, and TMB launch location. Station box construction, that's going to occur between Century Park East and Avenue of the Stars. This is per day station box construction, anticipated truck hauls of dirt coming out of that hole right behind us, 80 to 120 truck hauls a day. But wait, there's more. Tunnel boring machine activity, truck hauls, an additional 90 to 130 truck hauls. Station and other related construction, 80 to 120 truck hauls a day. Those are diesel trucks lined up, taking dirt out of that project, remove where our portables are. If you wonder why this board filed another lawsuit in January 2018, it's because in November 2017, they said, yes, we're doing that. We can't have our students, between noise, vibration, air quality, there's going to be issues. We will be presenting that at a later date for this community. But we needed to file a lawsuit to protect our interests and protect our rights to try to prevent that from happening. As a personal board member, my preference would be they go back 1,000 feet to where they had originally planned. At a minimum, we filed this lawsuit to try to mitigate those harms. We put out some information, as Mr. Tao indicated. They've done a few things to mitigate some of the harms. They dealt with the small issues. They haven't dealt with the big ticket issues. That's why we filed that lawsuit in January of 2018, right there. The city filed a suit. I don't want to speak for the city. Their lawsuit tracks our lawsuit with regard to these issues. They have their own problems with regard to MOUs, and their chamber can speak for themselves on that. But I did appreciate the fact that they did track and recognize the issues we have right here and are going to have. What you're going to hear about this district making plans, and it's something Don Blake said in this board, is there's a 2-year window to plan and do that. We can't just pick up and move those things overnight. They're state agencies with DSA. It takes time to plan, design it, get approvals, move it. Doesn't happen overnight. So we need to start planning now to do that. We have a window, and it's on that list, and it's about 500 days of planning, about 200 days, is that correct? About 200 days of actual moving it. I can't read that, it's too small, but that's what it breaks down to. So if we don't start now to at least plan for it, what's going to happen, I won't be on this board, Ms. Korbutov won't be on this board, but what's going to happen is that we would get caught flat-footed. Our students would be in those portables, and Metro will be pulling dirt out of that hole. That's something that we, as a board, and Mr. Margo's not here, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think his sentiments over the years have been the same, that he feels just as strongly that that can't happen to us. We will not be in a position to educate those children if they're in that location right now. So that's what we're doing here, and we wanted to advise the community of that. So thank you.
Mr. Tao, do you have any last words for us?
What I'd like for the board to consider and for the public to consider, and I think it's in everybody's best interest, is the thorough evaluation of the safety concerns is incumbent. And it's unfortunate that we would have to essentially move the portables if that was the case. But I also wanted the public to be well aware that this board has been grappling with just agonizing over these things for a while. And it's really over the safety of the kids in the high school. And this has been largely done in closed session. So this is probably one of the earlier times that the board can come out and say this is what's been going on. So I appreciate the fact that the board
Thank
asked
you.
me to do this.
And lastly, I wanted to remind the public that they really, really need to start to get engaged. School districts cannot pay for media or public relations. It's up to the PTA and the student leadership and students and families to get engaged. This is your home. You wouldn't let anyone treat your home this way. When you hear people say things or write things that just don't seem true, you should challenge them, but you should start reading up yourself. If you want to blame this board, you're blaming the victims. It makes no sense. Blame doesn't matter anymore. It's over with. But if you want to blame people, you look to Zev Yaroslavsky and Antonio Villaraigosa, who thankfully lost in the primary, and you look to Garcetti, and you look to the people and the Metro Board who did this to us. That's who you look to. And you guys should come together. There's strength in numbers, and we have got to have our voices heard. And I would ask you all to start getting engaged. If whoever's watching tonight, get online, get on the website, start reading. It's not pleasant and it's not easy reading, but it's incumbent on you to get informed so that you don't fall for the ad hominem attacks on this board and on our legal fees. You guys, the public, should thank us for the time and money and effort we've put into this. You should thank us. I don't even want your thanks, but if you're going to not thank us, at least don't criticize us. At least get informed. And it wouldn't hurt for you all to go to City Council and say the same things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Korbutov?
Yes.
If we're at the consent calendar,
Did anyone pull anything?
I would like to make a motion, but
I'm
first
gonna-
ask if my colleagues, is there anything you want to pull from the consent calendar?
I'm going to step out for a minute, so whoever can run this meeting. Who's next up? I think Mrs. Hacker.
Mrs. Hacker.
Mrs. Hacker, you'll run it for 5 minutes?
Sure. Mrs. Hacker, there is nothing to, you had nothing to pull?
I have nothing to pull, Mr. Goldstein.
I make a
No.
motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, so moved.
And
So-
second.
And second. So we'll move down to,
Well, have to
I'm
move
sorry.
in
to
favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so reports, Dr. Breggy?
Just a really quick report. The graduation ceremonies at all 5 of our schools that had graduation ceremonies was fantastic. Moreno High School also had a nice stacked breakfast for families for our students that were graduating from Moreno as well. So those were outstanding events at each of our schools, and there is a lot of work that goes in there. So I want to just extend my personal thanks to our parents that were part of those committees that have been meeting all year to pull off those events.
Great, thank you. Mr. Artel?
Thank you. I'd like to I'd like to echo Dr. Breggy's sentiments with regard to our graduating students. I had the pleasure to speak at Hawthorne's graduation, which is my alma mater, and it was pretty cool to go back, graduating from high school, but then going back to the same place you graduated from middle school at. So that was fun. I wish those students a lot of success. So congratulations to our middle school graduates, BV, Hawthorne, Horace Mann, El Rodeo, and also, of course, to our Moreno and high school graduates. It's a great achievement for them. As with this being my last board report as a student member, I thought I would take the time to reflect on what I felt were the most critical issues facing students and facing the future of the district, and issues where students have a responsibility to get engaged, and where I think the rest of our community has the responsibility to actively listen to these students, support them in their beliefs, and use them, leverage them to advocate for change. The first of those is a pretty relevant issue we were just talking about, and that's Metro. So I've brought up in the past that we're putting together a committee of students that'll be meeting for the first time in early July. So we're going to have 15 students, members of ASB, Kbev, Highlights, and other campus groups who are going to come together, discuss their main concerns with Metro tunneling underneath the high school, with the Metro staging area near the portables, and actively look for ways where we can get involved and students can make a difference. One area where students will hopefully try to affect change is at Metro board meetings. We hope to have students come and speak. We hope to have students speak at community forums similar to the one that was held this last summer, about a year ago, probably last June or July. We also want to stage a student walkout, similar to what we did with gun control this past year. We want to do that again in August or September for our students to come out at the beginning of the year, begin with an information campaign so that our students are aware of what's going on, and have the ability to stand up and fight for it. I've been speaking with Dr. Breggy, and I hope that for this next year our communication is going to improve and that we can help students become aware, send them the same information we're sending their parents and community members, and make sure that they have the resources to come to their own opinions. Because as we saw, this directly affects students' health and well-being, and we have to fight it. And the other issue is multifaceted. It involves the quality of our education, the quality of our budget, and the structure of our school district, and that's the K-8 model. As we look to the future, we are at a very opportune moment. We can stick with the K-8 model, a model that's brought us a lot of success over the years, or we can take a look in the mirror and evaluate what's been good about it and what can change and improve. At our study session yesterday, we saw that we had about a $2.2 million projected budget deficit for next year. And both of the reconfiguration plans on the table, was it not 2.2?
No, that was our second interim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As of yesterday, it's not that number.
I thought it was about 2 million. How much?
It is about.
I'm fairly certain it's about 2 million.
What's that?
Approximately.
Oh, for the
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
for-
sorry, I was referring to 2017.
Oh, yeah, I'm referring to 2018,
Gotcha,
2019.
Fair enough,
Yeah.
it's a projection, not a problem. You
Scared me
got
there
it.
for a moment, yeah. And so again, we have that projected $2 million deficit. And both of our reconfiguration plans on the table, one where we shift to the 3 K-8s and one where we create a dedicated middle school, both save over $3 million. And what that means is that there is no significant financial benefit to shifting to 3 K-8 schools as opposed to creating a dedicated middle school. And of course, having 3 K-8s where we close 1 K-8 and shift those 60 students per grade to the other schools doesn't change the critical mass of students that we have. Going from 60 students per grade to 80 students per grade does not allow us to offer more academic opportunities, more classes, and more diverse range of coursework, academic, athletic, extracurricular opportunities. So we can look in the mirror. When we reconfigure, do we want to make this just about money, save $3 million, but not change the structure of our education? Or do we want to actively change the number of students in each grade level and thereby give them more opportunities to succeed? So the only options to me that offer more opportunities for our middle grade students are the 7-12 model and the 6-8 model. And as incredible as the 7-12 model sounds, I'm concerned about its practicality. I think that in the coming months, our staff should come forward with an evaluation of how practical the 7-12 model is so that we can really evaluate that, discuss it, and either put it to rest or really put it on the table and debate it. And then again, take a serious look at a dedicated middle school. So I wanted to share that with my closing thoughts. I feel that those are the two most significant structural issues that are facing the district, two issues where students can and should get involved, and where we have a real opportunity to improve the quality of education for our students. So thank you for that. And there's one person I forgot to thank earlier, and that's Pam. Pam Crusher, so you're incredible. Sorry I forgot to thank you. You've been amazing to me. So, thank you for that. And please, let's try and take these issues seriously.
Ms. Korbachov, I just wanted to say that at the beginning of the meeting, I think I heard the students saying that they wanted to say some things about Mr. Artel, and I forgot to mention that. So,
Okay.
yes, I
Guys,
think
come on up.
I paid them $1 to come, so no.
Huh?
Yeah, we just wanted to talk a little bit about Jonathan too, if that's okay, to say how fantastic we think you've represented the student body this whole year. I've been talking to so many people throughout the year, and they watch the board meetings, and they say how much they love how you are putting your words, their words in this atmosphere, and being able to share their perspectives and putting this correct ideas of the students out in front of all of you guys. Because I know that the student voice is very important to all of you. I understand that, and it's very evident because I can tell you guys take Jonathan's words very strongly. They make an impact to all of the decisions that are made here. Me, myself, Oren, everyone else back here, Arian, we all, always when we're back there, we always talk about how eloquently you speak, Jonathan, and how fantastic you are able to present these complex issues because I mean, there's so many different things that we're talking about here that are, they go above the heads of a lot of us here, but you're able to put it at a more basic level to allow everyone. From the 9th graders to understand the middle schoolers. A lot of times they've been here. We get to see the behind the scenes. They always talk about, wow, that kid is talking really well about this. And I go, yeah, I know. So again, you've had a fantastic year. I know Sean's going to do a great job at following up, but you have, again, set such a high bar, and I've been lucky enough to watch you this year doing so well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Noah.
And Noah, your graduation speech was
Yeah.
also exceptional, as was Mr. Artel.
And
Thank you
Noah
so
has
much.
been an all-time Kbev
Yes.
legend.
Thank you,
So
Jonathan.
we'll leave it at that. You're amazing. Thank you, Noah.
I think it seems only right that I add something as well. But after just hearing what all of you had to say and the resolution, I'm just like sitting over there, wow, I have a lot to live up to, huh? But just a little something to say to Jonathan. Just this past year, being under you in ASB and coming to the meetings, I've learned so much that just seeing how interesting everything is behind the scenes and really the power that students have in their voice, that I hope to really step up next year to really expand that on this board. I really appreciate everything you've done and everything you've done to help me to be in that chair in 2 weeks. I really appreciate everything you have done to teach me and to mentor me about everything that goes on within this district. And all in all, I'm going to miss you, but hopefully I could live up to everything you've been doing up here.
You will do more than live up to it, Sean. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
and
it.
if you guys don't know Sean, he will be, you guys will be singing his praises next year. He is.
I'll try
Getting
my
to
best.
know you, Sean.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Spitz. I wanted to know if there's any more public comment. If not, okay, because I had opened it up for public comment again.
Are we going on to?
Yes, we are.
Elimination of classified services.
Moved by Mr. Spitz and seconded by Mrs. Hacker. Okay, any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
It's carried unanimously. We're now at item 13, Business and Finance. 13A.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve engagement letter for Moss Levy and Hartzman LLP to perform financial audit for Measure E for years ending June 30th, 2016, 2017, and 2018.
I'll second.
Moved by Mrs. Hacker, seconded by Mr. Goldstein. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions or noes? It's carried, yes, Pam? Oh, the one before, resolution. I think Mr. Spitz made the motion and Mrs. Hacker seconded it, and it was passed unanimously.
Right.
Okay. Item 14, Planning and Facilities. I see we have our magicians here who build buildings. So if we have questions, we can call one of them up. 14A.
Move approval to award an agreement to Nolan Construction for DSA Inspector Record Services for Horace Mann Phase 4 Site Work Project.
I second that.
Moved by Mr. Spitz, seconded by Mrs. Hacker. Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Noes? It's carried unanimously. We're on to 14B.
Move adoption of resolution number 2017-2018-043, authorizing reduction of retention to the agreement with 2H Construction for the Building A modernization at Horace Mann.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Spitz and seconded by Mr. Goldstein. Any questions? Mrs. Hacker?
I had a question, but I think Mr. Blake answered it. I just wanted to ask one more final question. Is this normal that we accept and we retain partially some of the payment and then, we're basically saying we still need a punch list. Are we not saying that? Or it's subject to that?
Oh, it's actually quite common during the phases that there's two conditions, one of which happened here. During the course of a construction, there's a deviation notice from the DSA inspector for work that wasn't approved. To get that through DSA to approve is taking a long time to do that. And so that's one contractor that's holding up 60 contractors' funds, and we want to avoid 60 stop notices. So generally, we manage that at the end for that reason. And sometimes punch lists, although not so much for that one, unless we have a major item that we're in dispute. To answer your question, why I do it, is I've been able to do this since 1999 with no lawsuits. And one of those major claims issues is if there's there's statute that's, the reason why we're asking this is it's statute. And they're entitled to that amount of money. But we can put a condition on it, we're approving it under a condition, and we list that condition. That gives us the opportunity to settle, if you will, whatever may be piling up claims from non-payment from the other subcontractors. It removes those claims. So that's really a lot of the logic behind it. Okay?
Excuse me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Noes? Okay, Pam, it's passed unanimously. We're
Item C.
on- Yes.
I move acceptance of the Building A modernization at Horace Mann as complete and authorization to file a notice of completion subject to punch list items.
So moved.
Put forward by Mr. Spitz and seconded by Mrs. Hacker. Questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Noes? It passes unanimously. 14D.
Move ratification of the agreement with Quality Fence, Inc. to install additional security fencing at El Rodeo School.
I'll second that.
Moved by Mr. Spitz, seconded by Mrs. Hacker. Any questions? I have one question. Where?
Thank you. As you know, the front entrance to El Rodeo is on Whittier Drive. Our current perimeter fence runs right at the back of sidewalk, so there's really no frontage in front of that fence for student drop-off, student pickup, parents meeting and collecting their children. So this fence creates about a 50-foot setback, and another main entry gate that's monitored behind the initials. So if you will, there's a small quad that's created between the existing gate that's right on the back of sidewalk at Whittier and the gate now that's being created about 50 feet back with the security person posted there. So the students and staff and parents can assemble safely off of the traffic street.
Okay, that's really good, because I know when I've been there, it feels very dangerous, but you walk out and then what? There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, noes? It passes unanimously. All right, we're on to 15, item 15, board policies.
Move approval of second reading and approval of the revised board policy BP 6174, Administrative Regulation AR 6174, and Exhibit 6174, Education for English Language Learners.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Spitz, seconded by Mr. Goldstein. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, noes? Okay, the ayes carry it unanimously. All right, we're on to item 16, communication from the board members.
Thank you for a great run. Enjoy your summers.
Mr. Spitz?
No, I think everything regarding Jonathan has been said, and heartfelt, and so I won't repeat. Thank you.
Just want to thank everybody for this year behind us and wish everyone a very healthy and good summer.
Mr. Goldstein?
Yeah, so everyone has wonderful platitudes for Jonathan. I have to sit here and go jump on him, and so my apologies. I thought you were referring to this year's closeout of the budget. So just for clarification, because we did have a budget session yesterday with regard to our fiscal stabilization plan, and as of June 6th, well, let me go back for a moment. As of a year ago, June of 2017, our projected deficit was to be $5 million. At our first interim and then our second interim, even our second interim about 2 months ago was still projected at $2.8 million. As of June 6th, yesterday, that projected deficit is down to 400,000 and still going to be reduced. So people say, how can that be? So I want to summarize some of the budget session yesterday. One of the things that we're doing is putting in position controls with regard to our budget. What we do as a district is there are about 7,500 line items in our budget, of which 500 of them can have multiple line items as well. So to give you an example, a certain department may get $200,000 budgeted for the year, but historically that department may only use $25,000. That locks up $175,000 for the entire year. One of the things that Ms. Kirk Carter is going to initiate along with her for a fiscal stability plan with Dr. Breggy is to have our departments report back maybe quarterly, 3 times a year, to see where they are to close up those POs out. Because what happens as a board when Mr. Seaman wants to come to us, or Ms. Chisholm comes to us, or Mr. Pavone comes to us and say, your administrators need this, we need this, and we look and say, we don't have the money for it. We can't do that because it's not there. Now, we can always discuss about going into reserves, but if those purchase orders were closed out, that money would reflect back in our budget because it's not going to be used. So that explains why there's this issue and confusion as to why, well, how can you have a $5 million deficit in 2017 in a year ago, and right now you're sitting at 400,000 as the projected deficit. We don't close our books till June 30th of every year, so there's still about 3 weeks for our business office to look to see and get back from the departments their purchase orders. I will bet, just like every past year, that you're going to see that our revenues outpaced expenses and that our ending fund balance, our cash on hand, increased again. So that doesn't mean we're flush with cash, and I shared that with our labor partners yesterday. This district isn't flush with cash because we do have a $70 million budget. It's a pretty big budget, not like some other districts that actually have tens of millions of dollars upside down. We're not that district, but we have a very small margin that we work on every year. I like to refer to it as that we're treading water every year. But we do have some issues, and Mr. Artel brings a good point. Whether it be reconfiguration, which is important. We've all went through this process the last literally 2 years. It started with the School Services of California, the FFST, Dr. Breggy's recommendation. I don't think anyone disagrees that there needs to be a reconfiguration of this district. Not part of that, the added consequence and bonus, if you will, is this cost savings, but that's not why you do a reconfiguration. You do it for the educational delivery model for our students to give them more opportunities. I don't want to rehash everything we spent weeks and weeks on with regard to the FFST, but that's the reason you do it. And you make sure whatever is going to be proffered, whether it's this board, the next board, when that board takes a look at what this district should be in the future, you just make sure that you've held Dr. Breggy and his staff's feet to the fire and make sure that they have a thorough plan for that. With a thorough plan, whatever that refiguration may look like, it will succeed. Well, with that said, Jonathan, you gave the speech at Hawthorne. I heard it was great. I got to do the El Rodeo speech. I spoke about Winnie the Pooh and Winnie the Pooh's author, A.A. Milne. A.A. Milne, do you know who A.A. Milne's 8th grade teacher was? English teacher.
I have no clue.
A gentleman, a young man by the name of Herbert Wells. Does that ring a bell? And Herbert.
Go ahead.
No, please. You're going to Stanford. Who was Herbert Wells?
H.G. Wells.
Very good. You know what? You're as advertised. Very well. I put you on the spot and you came through. That's right. So you never know when you're sitting in an English class or a biology class or a math class where a student's inspiration is going to come from. And it was very interesting that his inspiration was H.G. Wells, and he wrote the wonderful Winnie the Pooh novels. So with that said, I just wanted to really express my gratitude to the community for passing BH. So crucial, so needed. We can finally finish our construction projects. We can give these students an opportunity. If you've had an opportunity to be at Horace Mann to see the new building over the last 2 years or the renovated building this year, that renovated building is going to be the model for our district, for El Rodeo and the high school. And it's spectacular, and we're going to have spectacular learning environments. And that's a good thing. With that said, I wish everyone a very happy summer. Enjoy your time with your families, because this week we've got to no time with our families. I spend more time with the good people up here than I have with my own family. So I look forward to at least maybe 2 weeks off, Dr. Breggy. Will you give us that?
That'd be nice.
Fair enough. I'll take it. Thank you.
Not yet. I wanted to wish everyone a wonderful summer. Pam, our unsung hero, thank you. Thank you. You're like a stabilizing force around here. To Kbev, you guys are great. Romeo, I know where you are. You're over there. Thank you to the whole staff, to our teachers, our unsung heroes around here, and especially to the public who had the faith and the good common sense to vote for this bond. Don Blake, I know you were an integral part of that. You gave people hope and confidence, and you bring with yourself a lot of integrity and a great track record. Thank you, and to your team. Thank you to our team who's been doing all our security assessments, and to NASTEC, who had a fantastic 3 weeks here. You guys really knocked it, all of you here knocked it out of the park. What a phenomenal symphony of great people that came together to keep our campuses safe. And I also wanted to wish Mr. Spitz a happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. I was born on June 8th, 19 learner.
Mr. Spitz, whatever you were given at birth, whatever your mother fed you, sign me up.
Make it.
Because you are really just the Energizer Bunny. He still plays tennis. He still drives his car, and it's fast. He parallel parks better than I do. So, Mr. Spitz, hats off to you. I wish you every health and every happiness with your wife and your sons, and especially your precious grandson.
Thank you.
And, and have a wonderful summer. And Jonathan, really, you're a pleasure. Stanford's lucky to get you, and, to hell with Harvard. Stanford was lucky to have you.
You are in rare form
yes,
this evening,
exactly.
I'll tell you.
And I told you after the bond vote I was coming out of my shell.
I would have voted no then.
Oh, okay. You're on record. Dr. Breggy, get some much-deserved rest. I know it's been the last month of school is really, really hard, and I know you're tired, so I want you to get some good rest. And we'll be back here June 19th, correct? Yes. Okay. There's going to be one quickie special board meeting coming up. I don't know if it's closed and open or open and closed or whatever the heck we're doing. Little of both. We'll post that hopefully when we can agree on it. And yeah, we have to figure out a time. Everyone's gotten busy. And to our graduates, I gave the speech at the high school, and it was so much fun. I love the new location for our graduation. It's like way better than the front lawn. I had so much fun, and the weather was beautiful, and the skies were bright, and everyone was so happy. It was just a fantastic culmination to a great year. And I want to thank everyone for coming to our meetings and watching them, and I want to wish everyone a healthy, safe, and wonderful summer. Thank you.